And welcome to Two Great Goatees and a Whistle. I'm your host, Coach Huddy, and today he got a very special guest with me. This is a former Gooding High School alumnus. All right, so let's talk about her. Okay, this is Ellie Stockham. This is somebody who I've known. She was one of my former students and know her parents and everything else. She was a three-time pole vault state champ in Idaho, a state qualifier in volleyball, and not only that, she was a great student, salutatorian in her class, 4.0 student. So again, I'd like to welcome Ellie. Say hi, everybody.
Hey everyone.
So, hey, Ellie, it's great having you on here. I'm glad that you decided to do this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I love getting to get to talk to former students of mine, people who are in athletics and stuff like that, who went on past high school and have done things. And so being able to have you on here, it's kind of an honor. So I appreciate you taking your time out
Yeah, thanks for having me.
to move this right over here. All right. And then we're going to get going. All right. So let's get a little bit of background about yourself. So, real quick, what is it like? Can you describe pole vaulting? Because this is not like a real common sport. It's like, what are 3 words? 3 words. If you can put it in 3 words, what's it like to pole vault?
Okay, 3 words. I would say mentality. I would say like this is 2 words, but overall athleticism. And then I would say, let's see, I would just say tough. It's both mentally difficult and like physically difficult. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah. I, and I watch it and I'm like, I'm not like great with the whole height thing, but the fact that you're using a really flimsy, flexible pole to launch yourself up into the air, you know, in hopes that you land on the pad on the other side, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's to me, there's all I can see the mental part of that, and obviously the athleticism that comes into that. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's go ahead and start out early in your journey, in your inspiration. What kind of inspired you? So how did you get introduced into pole vaulting? Was it
So
l-
I actually was a gymnast for 9 years. I was in competitive gymnastics, and I didn't have the greatest coach, so I kind of steered away from gymnastics, and the high school track coach, Kent Seifert, found out that I had done gymnastics and was like, "We should try it." So he introduced me to pole vaults the summer after my 8th grade year, and that's where where I started.
so was it when you first did it? Were you because you've done gymnastics, and I know there's a lot of flipping and jumping and all that's already in there. Was there a little bit of fear trying to do that for the first time, uh, pole vaulting, or was it like, this is awesome, I can't wait to do this? What was like kind of like your thoughts when you started doing that?
It was definitely the like, this is kind of fun. And like, I think coming from a gymnastics background, like running full speed at a stationary object, like jumping, flipping, falling, like all of that just kind of was natural. So it like pole vault, it was a quicker start for me than probably some person who didn't have a gymnastics background.
Makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
We talked about, gymnastics was something you did. What were some of the other sports you did, either at a younger age up through high school, outside of pole vaulting?
So after I had quit gymnastics, I decided I wanted to do some school sports. So in middle school, in 7th grade, I tried out for the volleyball team and I had played on every single volleyball team up until my senior year. I definitely missed that sport a lot. And then I just did track starting I think it was 6th or 7th grade also. But yeah, I just did track.
Was the You're starting out, so pole vaulting isn't something you do in middle school. So was your freshman year kind of your first year getting into the pole vaulting game, or was it a little bit later?
Yes. After middle school, that summer after, the high school coach wanted me to try it. And then because I didn't play a winter sport, my freshman year I actually like did a couple of like indoor track meets in Boise. And you can just do that like unattached individually, like not affiliated with the team. So I did a couple of those. It was very humbling because, like, I had never competed in pole vault before ever, and I was going against kids who were part of a pole vault club. So it actually, like, I actually didn't really love pole vault the beginning of my freshman year because I got humbled pretty good. But then once freshman year season started, that's where it like I actually started having fun. Um, so yeah.
Nice. So, what were some of your biggest influences or mentors early on in your athletic career? Were some people you looked up to, or what were some of your influences as you were growing up?
Yes. So I would say my high school coach, Kent Seifert, he pushed me all throughout high school. He's the reason I started pole vault. As for like who I'm looking up to, I looked up to Stacy Dragila. She was the first woman to win the gold in the pole vault. She had her own she's also an ISU alumni. She had her own, like, pole vaulting facility up in Boise, and so I would occasionally go up and train with her. So she had a big influence on my career as well.
Nice. All right. So, next set of questions, we're going to kind of talk about some of your highs and lows. From either we can go as far as back as you want, or we can just talk about what happened in college. So, what are some of your proudest moments you've had in pole vaulting? What were some like highlights your time either in high school or college? What were some of the highlights that you throughout your pole vaulting career?
Yeah, in high school, I went 3 for 3 at the state championships. I think that's probably my biggest high school achievement, and actually my sophomore year, I broke my hand 2 weeks before state pole vaulting, and we had to, like, file for the medical hardship for me to pole vault at state because I wasn't allowed to compete at districts, which it went through and they were okay with it. So my sophomore year, I actually, um, won the state championships with a broken hand wearing a cast. So I think that's kind of a big achievement, a cool story. As for college, this last year, my senior year, I moved up the ranks in both the Big Sky outdoor list and the ISU indoor list. So I am ranked second in all time ISU history for outdoor. And then I'm ranked, I believe, tied for sixth in all of Big Sky history for outdoor in the pole vault. So those are big achievements as well.
Yeah, and I pulled up your information here, just kind of what Idaho State has on you, and it shows your indoor best was at 397. That's in meters. If we want to translate it for people in the United States, that would be 13 feet, 0.25 inches. And in your outdoor, 3.98 meters or 13.75 inches. And to include their 13 feet, yeah, 13 feet and 0.75 or inches. Holy crap, I got to get that right.
So I don't
Is
think
that
they
right? Or
updated that
was there something a
because
little different from there?
this last year I jumped 419, which is 13 feet 9 inches, and I jumped that at the Big Sky Conference Championships.
At the conference championship? Nice. So, hey, that's impressive. So that's fun. I mean, and you're competing. I mean, the Big Sky has got talent. There's a lot of talent there, and the fact that you're able to compete at that level it's impressive. And I just that's cool. I mean, that's really cool to be able to be in the record books like that, to be able to take something that you put everything into and be able to have that. On the flip
Right.
side, what was kind of some of the challenges you faced? Either we talked about the hand, so that's something we
Mm,
we talked about is like you gotta obviously gotta to overcome that. That's pretty impressive in high school, your sophomore year. And I think I remember that. I think I remember seeing you running around with this little cast, and I was like, oh, okay, that's crazy.
yeah.
So that you're able to do that, we are able to compete. So that's impressive. But what are some other challenges you might have faced, either outside of injuries, maybe performance slumps that might have happened? What mental hurdles, and what were some of the struggles that maybe you've had through college or high school, and how you overcame that, or maybe you're still working on?
Yeah. So I think the biggest like mental low for me in high school was after winning state my freshman year, my coach and I had decided that I wanted to go 4 for 4. Like that was the goal. That was Like, that was the dream. But junior year was my COVID year, and so we didn't have a track season that year, and so, like, that one goal was kind of ruined for me, and I don't know why I let it bug me so much, but it did. But I'm over it now because obviously I'm made it to where I am right now, even having a COVID year, so that was my main, like, high school kind of low. And then in college, my sophomore year, that's when I PR'd for in college for the first time. That was 397 indoors and 398 outdoors. But then junior year, my mentality kind of had a crisis. I was really hard on myself and I would start to like blame my poor performances on like my coach or like my teammates, which and they weren't even poor performances. So what I was doing is the bar would be put up to what would have been like a PR bar. So it would have been like 4 meters. I was so like stuck on the idea of 4 meters that whenever that 4 meter bar would go up, like I would just change my whole jump and I would never get it. Every single meet, I would attempt a new PR and I would never get it. And so I really started to become like pessimistic and it was a very frustrating junior year. And then senior year, I told myself, I'm going to be different. I'm going to change my mentality. Like, I'm going to work on it. It's going to be good. Indoor, same exact trend. I would see the 4 meter bar and I would just kind of freak out. I never cleared 4 meters in a meet, um, in indoor my senior year. So that was a major bummer. And I no hided at the indoor conference championships my senior year after having like really like promising practices.
Okay.
And
So yeah,
so I
and
I don't think I've
the
cried that hard in my entire life.
yeah. So yeah, I hear you, and this is something I think it's common with athletes, especially when you're doing individual sports that, and it happens in team sports too. You get in a middle funk and you get in a slump, and it happens in all sports. It could be baseball, softball, where you're not hitting the ball, or volleyball. Maybe your serves aren't doing what they should be doing, or just so you always get in these middle blocks, and it happens. And being able to figure out how to get past that, I know is a struggle. And you brought up your COVID year, and that was Kelly's senior year. So
Mhm.
just like you and stuff, and basically everybody that year, that the spring sports, that was just wiped out, and it was crushing. And there was no closure. And for you, obviously not able to get that four-peat, and for the seniors, they lost their senior year, which was a whole other problem. And
Mhm.
that was a mental drain on everybody. And so just COVID sucked, period, for everybody. And so
Yes.
yeah, it's just you just got to chalk it up to these, like, okay, and then you move on, and then you go on and you try to overcome that. And for everybody's different, takes time.
Right.
And for me, and even for Kelly, and for Amanda and I, like for me, it was really hard just to go watch softball games, just because it's like it just ended and there was like no closure. And
Right.
so for a few years, and I missed watch, and I love going to watch games. And I love watching, whatever the sport is. I love then to go watch former students of mine and everybody compete and do that. But it was just really hard. And I felt bad because it was nothing personal. And it wasn't like I wasn't one of those people that's like, oh, my daughter's done. I want nothing to do with it. And that wasn't the case. It was like I wanted to be a part of it. But at the same time, I'm like, it was just rough. So that mental aspect, I mean, that was a real deal. So, you got to fight through that stuff. And, you know, you abling to get through that is really good. There was a guy that I had on a few weeks ago, and he has a book coming out, and it's about mental training. It's called Mind Over Virtually Everything, and it's going to come out here at the end of the month. And listen to him talk and how his perspective on mental stuff, like he was talking about pressure and stuff like that. And his thing was, we were talking, like I brought up basketball, and people get in these mental blocks and they can't handle pressure because they're always thinking of external problems that aren't even real problems. Like my mom and dad are watching me. What am I going to do? What if, and they're always looking in the stands, if I fail, I'm a failure, and always thinking of, my gosh, am I going to break up with my girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it is? Some of these external problems has nothing to do with what your competition is, because you see this person in practice who can go 10 for 10,
Mhm.
and then they bomb it. So, and he brought up this perspective, and he said inner city kids are the best free throw shooters. And I was like, huh, okay. And he goes, because they got real problems they worry about. Are they going to have food when they get home? Are they going to get shot at? Are they going to all this other stuff? So they have real external issues, and this is like nothing for them. They go up to a foul line and they can nail a free throw shot with 2 seconds left in the game. That
Yeah.
mentality is a lot different. That shift where, not in that environment where you don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. I think sometimes we put this pressure that's not there. And I notice it in people, the kids I've coached. It's like you see how well they are in practice, and then they get to that big moment and they can't do that. So for you, the mentality, how do you get through that? I mean, because it's a mental game. I mean, just as much as the physical aspect of what you got to do, pole vaulting is very mental too. So what do you do to mentally prepare to get you ready? So where you got to that point where you got over four, the what was your process of getting over that funk, I guess?
So what I did was like switch my mentality because one of my volleyball coaches in high school, he was probably one of the best coaches I've ever had. We had a serve-a-thon and you would have to serve 100 balls, and if you miss this many, whatever, if you make this many, whatever. He asked me how I did, and I said, "Oh, I missed 5." And he looked at me and said, "No, you made 95." And so I just like I kinda remembered that moment of just like kinda switching that mentality. And so rather than like thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is the 4-meter bar," like don't change anything, like don't freak out. I just was like, "Yeah, I've cleared this so many times in practice, like it's no big deal. Just have fun. You do so much better when you have fun." Just switching my mentality was huge because, like, I was always pretty negative, but like, my senior year, I wanted to be more positive, and I probably drove my teammates and my boyfriend at the time nuts because anything that they would say that was negative, I would, like, kinda snap at 'em and be like, "No, be positive." Um, so I think
Right.
just changing the perspective really helped me, and it helped me get over 4 meters. So I would say if you're struggling kind of with the jitters or kind of a pessimistic idea, just change the way you look at it.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to look at it. And it's always wording too, right? Not how
Right.
many you missed, but how many you made. And I think in anything, whatever you're going through life, I think that's important, just how you phrase things. And
Mhm.
and that's a big strategy in getting over the mental hurdle that comes with sports. So let's talk a little bit about, you're done now, right? No more, right? You're done for your career in pole vault's done, right? So
Yep.
how is it, it maybe not have hit you yet, but it might not hit you until indoor comes around. Is this going to be the first time that you haven't been a part of something since you're a kid, as far as it comes to being in some kind of competitive sport?
Yes, and I'm a very, like, competitive person, and I really feed off of that competitiveness and that drive. So, I do miss it a lot, especially because, like, my sister, she's still pole vaulting for ISU, and my husband, he's throwing for ISU. Like, they come home and they tell me about their practices, and then they tell me about, like, the meetings that they've had, and, like, that part kinda bothers me, which I'm all ears. I love when they come home and talk to me about it, but it's almost like, "Gosh, I wish I could talk about practice, or I wish I could have been to that boring meeting." So, just those little things, and I think once that the competition season starts, it is gonna be a little bit harder for me. But I also have been keeping myself pretty busy. So I work a lot, but because of my, like, competitiveness and my, like, drive for, like, physical activities, I made it a goal of mine to, like, bring back as many hobbies or to start as many hobbies as possible. So, like, while these guys are at practice, I go do hot yoga. I go on runs. I actually have a 5K tomorrow morning. So I'm trying to, like, do other activities to kind of, like, keep me hungry almost. So but I think it'll be different
That's
once competition starts.
well, and I can speak, because when you're not doing something, when you're and then you step away for a little bit, you sometimes appreciate it more, or sometimes you need a break. And where you're at in your life, you still have that competitive hungerness, and you want to do stuff. Suggest coaching maybe in the future. I mean, I don't know where you're at with that, but you know,
Yeah, I would love
you
to
know, you
coach.
you have you have this knowledge, all this knowledge out there. I think wherever your career path takes you, that's something that's to me. I always look at that as a way to feed that competitive hunger that you have. Is if you
Right,
can, because the world always is looking for coaches, and
right,
you got a niche there with pole vaulting that you could share with people. So what wherever your career takes you and stuff like that. I mean, there's always got that in your back pocket. You have that
right.
experience you can share.
No,
Speaking of which,
I
let's
would
talk about yeah, and you got time, but
yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
definitely something that wherever you and your husband end up, you're in your from here on out, that you guys will, you know, find your joy for sure.
Yeah.
And coaching can be something like that you can find your joy in. So let's
Mhm.
talk about advice and reflection a little bit. So let's talk about if you could go back in your time machine and talk to your younger self, just starting out in pole vaulting. What advice would you give your younger self? If you could give and maybe not pole vaulting, just in general, it doesn't have to, just in general, maybe a life lesson or something. What's something advice you'd give your younger self?
I would tell myself to not, like, to have more fun, cause I just feel like I had so many, like, mental situations where I would be super hard on myself, and then I would, like, compare myself to others, and, like, that just kind of determined my performance, where, like, in between indoor and outdoor, I started to tell myself, "Have aggressive fun." Like, be aggressive, but still have fun, and just adding that fun part made all the difference. So, I would just say, have have fun. Don't take it so serious.
And it is, and I know it's as a coach, and if you coach youth, that's one thing you try to bring in, especially really young kids, is to have the fun. The competitiveness comes later, but when they're still developing, trying to keep things in perspective, having that fun. Me and Kelly coached a rec softball team this year, and weren't great. We got better, and that's what the whole goal was just to get better. And that's trying to keep that perspective for those girls. I had one girl that was a pitcher, and she was struggling, and just remember in between innings being out at the mound with her, talking to her, just like, hey, you know, you got to have fun right now. And then she pulls the Ricky Bobby on me and like, if you're not first, you're last. And I'm just like, no, that's
Yeah.
not the
Oh, yeah.
point of this whole journey you're on right now. You need to have fun. So so that's a great advice. Try to have fun. And definitely, I think one of the worst enemies for athletes is when they start comparing themselves to other people. You know,
Exactly.
especially when you're in an individual sport like track and field, where it's really you're competing against yourself, to get better. And I just think that you can fall in a huge trap when you start comparing yourself to other people, and switching that mindset to that positive, thinking, and really working on, okay, I got this, embracing the challenge, being excited that, being excited that I get to go try to get that 4 meters, and or whatever your goal is, really want to embrace the challenge and stuff like that. And that's the mindset I think just in general needs to be taught, not like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if I fail? Nothing.
Right.
You're going to
Yeah.
fail. It's okay. Failure is your best lesson you're ever going to learn. And I try to teach kids that in school even in the classroom. I'm like, they gotta be, God forbid they gotta be. I'm like, guys, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, that was
That
me
means
too.
learn from it. Learn from
You're
it.
right.
Now, if you're
Yeah.
slacking, you're just not doing anything, that's a different story. But if you struggle in a certain area and you're constantly struggling, don't look at it as anything against you. Just understand it's part of life. Failure happens.
Right.
The safest place to fail is sports because nothing's going to happen. Obviously, you never want to fail driving down the freeway because you can end up dead. But
Mhm.
something in sports that's a safety thing where you can learn from your failures and you can grow.
Right.
So, what advice in general? So, you talked about yourself. If you had to give a talk in front of a bunch of inspiring track athletes or sports athletes or just kids in general, what advice would you give those kids? You kind of talked about advice for yourself. Is there anything else you would add to that, or would it be the same advice?
I would definitely reiterate the fun part. I would also say, um, to not give up. Like, do not give up when you think your story is done, it's not. For example, after the year and a half of not PRing and attempting the PR every time, and then no hiding at the conference championships for indoor, I wanted to quit. I was so done. I was so sick and tired of like feeling the way I did after every single meet, but I didn't give up. I decided to keep going and keep praying, and as soon as I started to, like, flip my mentality and, like, take it even more, like, to the next level positivity, after I clear 4-meter for the first time in a meet at Boise State, I cleared 4 meters every single meet after that, including at the Big Sky Championships and even at the NCAA regionals. I cleared 4 meters every single time. So, when you think your story is done, it's not. So keep going.
Great advice there. So let's switch a little bit about things that happened. Like, how was your upbringing, school experiences? How did the community that kind of help you get to where you're at? You talked about Coach Seifert, who's a legend in the area for what he's done. Parents, anybody else in the community or upbringing that helped you get to be where you're at? Who were some of these people that have kind of helped you get through up to college?
I would say definitely my family, my mom and dad, my grandparents, they have all I would not have accomplished what I did without them. I also would say my church community. They've also been super supportive. I still keep in contact with some of them. Some of them are even coming to our wedding. They've also like they just have been so supportive throughout my entire career, so I really appreciate them. The school has been super helpful. I've had a lot of teachers that, stayed in contact with me and wish me luck on the meets and stuff at the meets. Um, yeah, teachers, my church, my family. Yeah,
Hey, that's all good.
yeah,
So let's talk about your life after this wedding, right? Got that. So yeah, yeah. Want to talk
I'm
about
so
that at
excited.
all? Like, yeah, how you excited? What's your thoughts on life after college? Now that you got that over with, you're coming up to you got how many more courses you got before you're actually done with college? You think?
So, I'm taking 2 online classes right now to try and get into a program. So, as soon as those are done, I'm gonna apply to the radiographic science program, which is another 2 years. So, I actually like school, so another 2, 3 years of school doesn't bother me too much, but my husband, Axel, he actually has 1 more year of track because he tore both of his pecs last year. So I'm actually really excited to like watch him and be a spectator. And I'm excited to watch my sister pole vault as well. I really want to be a rad tech, so I think this program is going to be really good for me, and I'm actually really excited for it. And then I'm really excited to be a mom. I can't wait to start having kids. It'll be a while, but it's definitely on my mind a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can tell you as a grandfather, dude, it's like the best job in the world. In fact, I get to see him. Kelly's gonna drop him off a little bit, but being a grandparent's awesome. So I remember mentioning it to your mom and Cameron and stuff like that, kind of in passing, like, the gig of being a grandpa. And I
Mm,
they might I was like this too, like, I'm not ready to be a grandpa, dude. I'm too young. But
yeah.
it's they'll love it. But again, take your time
Yeah,
because
right.
once that kicks in, that's gonna be that's a whole other level.
The
Parenting,
rest of your
I
life.
mean, yeah, that's gonna be. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for Axel and your guys' journey, and I think that's going to be really cool.
Thank you.
So before we wrap up, I do some fun things on here, and
Okay.
one of them I haven't done in a while is movie mashups. So I will take a movie and I will
Okay.
mash it up, and I usually take a rom com and a sports movie. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a trailer script for a movie, and it's
I have
called
to guess the
Game
movie?
of Love. All right,
Game
and I'll explain what the two movies are. See if you can kind of guess what the two movies are. One of them could be kind of a giveaway because of the title or what's the name of it. But see if you can pick up
Uh-huh.
the other one, maybe based
Okay.
off the actor or actress. All
Okay.
right, here we go. All right, here's the pitch. Quick cut. High school girls at a soccer game. Viola, Amanda Bynes as the actress, pulling off his slick moves, teammates cheering. Narrator, in a world where playing the game means bending the rules. Cut to Viola in disgust with her brother Sebastian on the boys' soccer team. Teammates are laughing. Dude, your voice cracks every time you call for the ball. Narrator. And love means risking it all. Scene change. Enter Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise. Mid show me the money rant in his office. Jerry, I'm not just about contracts. I'm about love, loyalty, and soccer cleats that don't smell like death. Full montage. Viola juggling in disgust. Jerry struggling with clients. Quick comedic crosscuts. Dorothy, Renee Zellweger. You had me at kickoff. Romantic montage. Violet in disgust, locking eyes with Duke, Channing Tatum's character. Jerry awkwardly trying to give a pep talk to the entire teenage soccer team. Dorothy rolling her eyes, but smiling at Violet's shenanigans. Narrator. From high kicks to heartbreaks, excuse me. Slow motion shot of Viola running down the soccer field with her wig starts slipping. Coach shouting, Sebastian, your hair looks suspiciously fabulous. Cut to Jerry looking exasperated. I had one client and now I have a teenage soccer imposter. Uplifting indie pop music kicks in, Viola revealing her true identity, Jerry and Dorothy having a tender romantic moment, Duke realizing he might actually like Viola. Big championship game, crowd is roaring. Narrator, this spring, love takes the field. Final comedic scene, Jerry storms onto the pitch in a suit holding a soccer ball. Jerry shouts, show me the goal. Team erupts in laughter. Ball accidentally hits him in the head. Sometimes the biggest plays happen off the field. Game of Love. There's your pitch. Can you figure out the two movies? One of them's probably pretty clear.
Yes, I wanna say is it She's the Man? Okay. I don't know the other one.
Jerry Maguire is the name of the movie. Did you ever watch Jerry Maguire? Did you ever see that
No.
movie? Okay, so
Uh-uh.
like, that might be why you're like, what the hell? So no, Jerry Maguire was with Tom Cruise. Have you ever heard of the term "show me the money"?
Nope.
You ever heard of that term before? Okay,
Nope.
anyways, so if you get a chance, well, it's a romantic sports movie or a kind
Okay.
of with Renee Zellweger. So movie to check out, maybe tonight.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna
yeah,
watch.
so that's our movie mashup. It's Jerry Maguire and She's the Man. So
Love.
all right, and then we got one more segment I always do, and it is
Okay.
going to be a mascot of the week. So every week I choose a different unique name mascot. So I've done one in Idaho with the Maniacs up in North. I've done, what was it? I've done the Criminals out of Yuma. I've
Okay.
done a school that were the polka dots. The team was the polka was the name of the town. The dots were their mascot. So this week, I'm taking you to the state of Washington, to Oakville, Washington. This name came from 1970s after a native Gary oak trees in the area. They named the town Oakville, which was chosen by the local post office that was established in 1873, giving the school its origin for its mascot, the acorns. Okay, how long has the acorns been used? The nickname is documented at least back to the 90s when Everett defeated the Oakville Acorns in the state boys basketball title game. The visual representation of the mascot is this muscular acorn, a mural on the high school gym. The population isn't very big, like the whole grade 6 through 12, there's like 145 students, so not a very big school. The town itself is located in Grays Harbor County on the Chehalis River, uh, near the Black River. It's about 29 miles from Olympia. Population of the town 715. Median household income is 71,000. And yeah, that is the acorn. So when I think of Oakville acorns, I think of the Disney movie Chicken Little. Have you ever seen that one?
Yes,
Chicken Little?
yes, I
Weren't
have.
they the acorns?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the acorns. Well, yeah,
Aw,
Oakville Acorns is the name. So when I saw that, I just automatically thought of Chicken Little. So
little, yeah.
it came to my mind.
Love it.
So hey, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go? Is there anything else out there? Any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Go Bengals. If you want to come watch our track meets, our indoor season is January through March, and then our outdoor is March through June. Izzy and Axel will both be competing, and I will be in the stands, so you can come sit with me.
Nice. And is Pocatello hosting an indoor event this year?
But yes, Pocatello is actually hosting the indoor conference championships this year, so you can see the Big Sky in action in Pocatello in March.
All right. Well, that'll do it for everybody. I'd like to thank Ellie Stockham for stopping by, and everybody else out there, take care of yourself.